I realize, everybody, that this is Royal Rumble season, but god damn it, we're doing this retrospective in order, which means up next on the docket is one of the most underwhelming SummerSlams of all time in 2003, Tomas.
Absolutely. And don't worry, we're going to have some Royal Rumble, some fresh Royal Rumble content as you by the end of the month. It's going to be fun. But I like that we do these shows in an order, which is like, it's kind of like something new. Like, look, everyone's reviewing the Royal Rumble right now. Let's do something a little different. As this random message pops up on my screen.
Yeah, just to switch things up a little bit for sure. But yeah,
absolutely.
So exactly what you were referring to.
Mania season, we're probably going to be talking about Rumbles. By the time Mania rolls around.
It's probably, yeah, no, depending on how quickly we get through these. But yeah, we got SummerSlam 2003 on the docket. And of course, you all have voted in a Royal Rumble show for us to talk about at the end of the month. And that would be Royal Rumble 2000. So that's something else that you can look forward to. Of course, Royal Rumble this year, which is on a Saturday, oddly enough, in St. Louis. But in any case, if you're new here, smash that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 over here. We're getting so dangerously close. Let's up that a little bit more. Just push it there. Thumbs up this video, of course.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Before we get into SummerSlam, I know we like to give like real quick pre-thoughts before WWE pay-per-views. And I'm just going to say I'm a little anxious for this year's Royal Rumble. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a little anxious. Just for the Royal Rumble matches themselves. We got Lesnar, Lashley, we got Reigns, Rollins. I could get stuck on what happens in those matches. We got Edge in Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice, which I think is going to be a fun match. This has been a fun feud. But for the actual Rumble matches themselves, I'm a little anxious. I have no idea what's going on with the men. It just looks like they're copying and pasting the 2020 idea and just putting Flair as the female Brock Lesnar, which is very concerning. So we'll see. You know, we're concerned right now the women's division is going to be. I don't think she's going to be as dominant as Lesnar was in 2020. If WWE booked Charlotte to win this, then what the fuck? Then what the fuck? Why have a women's division then?
Charlotte's not going to win.
SmackDown women's.
Yeah. It's gonna be Liv Morgan on the women's side, and it's gonna be AJ Styles on the men's side. You heard me here first, my friends. Those are my picks, and I'm sticking with them. But in any case, Tomas, SummerSlam 2003 opens up with a Lillian Garcia rendition of the national anthem. I don't know if there was something going on in Iraq at the time to spur this on, but I mean, it was a nice little way to open up the show. And the show takes place in Phoenix, Arizona, which actually isn't too far away from us, but I believe it's the first WWE pay-per-view in the Phoenix area, if my memory serves me right. But oh boy, I wish they had gotten a better show than this.
Definitely. And I'm the first one to call WWE out on the over patriotism, but I'm never going to complain about hearing Lillian Garcia sing. She is absolutely amazing. And speaking of patriotism, it's a WWE pay-per-view featuring Raw superstars. So we got to open up with a tag team title match, playa.
Yep.
It's La Resistance, Rene Dupree and Sylvain Grenier defending against the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon. They showed prior to this match, would be a week prior, they debuted Rob Conway. And probably this was still in the era of swerves. The Dudleys bring in this armed forces guy into the ring just to celebrate, and then the guy happens to be working with La Resistance and attacks the Dudleys with the flag. Again, later on, this would be revealed to be Rob Conway, the third member of La Resistance. That was probably the most...
The French sympathizer is what he was. He was American working with the French, so that was his gimmick.
And that was the most interesting thing going into this match, because this was your basic... you know how we always say WWE's go-to nowadays is New Day and Usos? I feel like WWE's go-to back here was the Dudley Boys. If the tag champions had no one to feud with, just throw the Dudleys there. They can be face or heel whenever they want.
Yeah.
You can put the tag team titles on them whenever you want. You can take them off them. You can have them lose. The Dudleys just really felt like a placeholder here at this point. And this match was fine. It was a good way to open the show.
Fairly basic. The crowd was let's just say that the live crowd in attendance was way more into this match than I was. They do one of my favorite tropes of attacking La Resistance during their entrance as the Fink is introducing them to the ring. And then Bubba is wielding Old Glory, and he's hitting both members with the American flag and all that. It was.
Oh yeah. Oh, real quick, you mentioned the Fink. This would be in the era where for Raw pay-per-views, it would obviously be Lillian Garcia. For SmackDown pay-per-views, it would be Tony Chimmel. And for both dual-branded pay-per-views like the Big Four, we would still have Howard Finkel. I miss those days. I really miss those days. Even when Fink was alive, WWE stopped using him, and he was still employed by the company. It's like, oh, come on, can you at least bust him out during WrestleMania?
Use the Fink, yeah.
You got to use the Fink, and the Fink's no longer with us, but I wish WWE would have utilized him up until the very last minute.
Oh, totally. And the Fink, I believe the Fink would be used for like the Hall of Fame introductions at WrestleMania every year, but he was used on the Raw side on this show because Tony Chimmel was there. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to write home about with this match. Someone was Rene Dupree slapped on a bear hug at some point, and Rene Dupree is not a 300-pound monster doing a bear hug, which I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, it was your basic rest hold so they could both catch their breath. One thing I do want to point out is I feel like Devon Dudley doesn't get enough credit as a wrestler, and he had some smooth offense at the beginning of this match. He was hitting some smooth hip tosses. He hit a nice drop kick too, which I feel like you didn't see Devon throw out a lot. But I feel like Bubba Ray gets all of the credit. He's the good one on the mic. He can go in the ring. Like, Devon deserves some credit too.
And he was the one who got the hot tag. That's what I wanted for the match at Bad Blood, but we instead get it here. And honestly, he proves that he could carry a hot tag. It doesn't just always have to be Bubba Ray, but there was a what's up drop, of course. And the referee was pretty much predisposed at this point after the Dudleys would hit a 3D on Rene Dupree. The ref was distracted by, I believe, Sylvain outside. And then
I think Grenier pulled him out of the ring to
that's
break up
what
because
it
the Dudley
was.
death drop was it.
That's right.
I thought that was the end of the match right there. I totally forgot who won this match. It's not a very memorable match.
Should have been the Dudleys, honestly. Like, with the way they opened the show with the national anthem and all that, Bubba Ray coming out with Old Glory, it should have been the Dudleys. But alas, it was Rob Conway disguised as a cameraman coming in and saving the day for his teammates here, clocking Devon right in the mush with the camera, and Dupree pins Devon, and they retain the titles. It was star and 3/4. I mean, the crowd was into it, which is at least good. But I mean,
yeah, I'll give it 2 stars because at least I feel like this match, at least it was 2 established tag teams going for the tag titles. It wasn't like Rodney Mack and Christopher Nowinski like we got last month. We're kind of getting past the days of Kane and RVD and Kane and the Hurricane and kind of these throwing together tag teams for the time being. Don't worry, we will get back to those, but it's good to have some established action inside. After the match, we get probably the most memorable thing about this whole ordeal. Jonathan Coachman, which we will be talking about a lot in this show.
Oh, boy.
Coachman goes to interview the Dudleys, and Bubba Ray is mad, saying like, oh, why are you getting in our face after this match? How do you think we feel? And Bubba Ray with the most iconic quote of this show, you want to know what I think of people who don't like America? I think they suck.
Yikes. Tomas texted me that after he finished this match, and I was like, Jesus Christ, you reminded me. You had to remind me of that.
It was just so emphatic. The way Bubba Ray Dudley said that was so emphatic.
Yeah.
The most memorable quote of this whole damn ordeal.
See, I could have sworn the most memorable quote would have been on the next segment, because we cut backstage, and it's Eric Bischoff in his black belt gi warming up for his match with Shane McMahon, when out walks Christian Cage, the Intercontinental Champion, who is nowhere to be found on this card, and I absolutely agree with him. It's an absolute blasphemy that he's not featured on SummerSlam, but he is talking to Bischoff about how he might have closed the deal with Linda McMahon on the Go Home Raw, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is what we're dealing with here? Like,
yeah, your Intercontinental Champion has been, reduced down to a backstage segment, to an NPC, basically, with Bischoff. Oh boy, the Bischoff thing. We're gonna keep talking about that as the night rolls on. But what do we have next?
And mediocrity. But before I get to that, speaking of not pretty, but Christian even tells Bischoff, he's like, hey, if you need help out during the match, I'm totally willing to help you out if you need it. And Bischoff's like, don't worry, I got it all taken care of, and I've got a plan. We will get to that contingency plan, but yeah, speaking of bowling shoe ugly, we have the Undertaker wrestling Albert, otherwise known as a train, otherwise known as a locomotive, otherwise known as a Greyhound bus, otherwise known as a I'm thinking of big vehicles now, but anyway.
Otherwise known as Tensai, otherwise known as NXT head coach Matt Bloom. Please don't fire him. Please don't fire him. Please don't fire him, WWE. For the love of God, don't fire him.
No, you know they're going to in about 3 months, but anyway.
Fire him. He's the last thing. Matt Bloom is the last thing we have.
He's the last hope.
Fire him. He'll go back to Japan and he'll do wonderful work in Japan.
That's right.
WWE.
That's right.
WWE.
Yep.
Anywho, Albert is not alone. Albert's not alone this match. He has Sable come to him because the basic story of this is as we said at Vengeance, A-Train mowed down Stephanie McMahon and injured her at that pay-per-view. And The Undertaker's a gentleman, and he wants to defend Stephanie's honor. That and A-Train has been really sticking his nose in his business, cost him a match with John Cena, interfered in his match with The Big Show. So basically, A-Train is just this giant thorn in Undertaker's side, and Undertaker really can't do anything until he disposes of A-Train, which is a shame because Undertaker's career at this point, he's really, I never thought I'd say this, he's dawdling.
He's drifting.
He really has nothing to do.
For sure. I mean, the crowd popped for The Undertaker like they should, but I feel like this was the least interested I've ever seen a crowd during an Undertaker match. Like, going back and rewatching all of his stuff in the Ruthless Aggression era, this crowd was just not into it, and it really, really bugs me because this is the fucking Undertaker in front of them. He's the fucking greatest of all time right in front of you.
Like,
but
dare I say, Taker was kind of getting a little stale at this point, but we will get into that much later. I think
we'll get into that character change.
Even realized we got nothing for you right now, Taker, so we may need to go back to the drawing board and kind of revive something for you. You see what I did there?
Oh boy. Yeah, you really want to
hang in there.
You really want to bury the lead, huh?
Oh my God! Everybody hang in there. We got 2 more pay-per-views to go until Taker starts being interesting again, and he kind of, gets the ball rolling again. Because second match of SummerSlam facing Albert. Nothing against Albert; he's a fantastic wrestler, but Albert really the best they had for him right now.
Yeah, Albert was basically one of Vince McMahon's monstrous weapons that he had at his disposal, and Albert is actually accompanied to the ring by Sable, who is Vince's mistress at this point in time. And I guess Sable was like flirting with A-Train on the way down to the ring, getting like perks from working with Vince. I'm like, good Lord, you're itemizing Sable here. Come on.
WWE, obviously, and I know we talked about this at Vengeance, WWE was desperately trying to revive Sable's popularity from 1997, 1998.
Wasn't working.
Desperately trying to revive it. But here's
really wasn't working.
Sable wasn't just over in the Attitude Era because she was hot. She was also over, in my opinion. I know a lot of wrestling fans will come out of the work and say, no, she was ass and tits. She was ass and tits, nothing else. That's why she was popular. I'm like, I think she had a little character. She had a little bit more character in the Attitude Era, with the Mark Merrill thing and the standing up for herself and winning the women's championship. Here, now, I will say she has nothing but sex appeal.
I 100% agree. I only feel like that character pops out of Sable when she's a heel. Babyface Sable is not doing it for me. Like, heel Sable, like, who's like, yeah, you wish you had me, guys. Like, that's great. That's great work from Sable. But
but here she was really doing nothing for me. I hate to say this, but she was also getting old. A lot of, again, the sex appeal really wasn't there anymore. WWE was trying a little too hard with Sable. But there was one person who benefited out of Sable being in WWE in 2003.
Zack Gowan. Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was talking about Lesnar.
God, I want you. Sable. I had to remind you of that horrible acting.
Yeah.
But, okay, so basically, this is, your slow plotting match. Undertaker had better matches with smaller opponents, like your Bret Hart, like your Shawn Michaels. Albert was not the right opponent for him, but
no.
if
hell, even with John Cena last month.
I mean, well, the match with Cena was much better than this, because at least the crowd was into it. Like, the problem with this match, there was never a point in time where the A-Train, you felt like he was going to beat Taker here. This was a foregone conclusion.
I'm going to give both these guys credit, because they tried their best to put together somewhat of a good little brawl. I, again, go out of my way to say Albert's selling never gets enough credit. because I
Oh
think he
yeah.
sells beautifully. And when we get into a certain match later down the line at a SmackDown pay-per-view, I'm going to be praising the hell out of him and his work. You know which match I'm talking about.
I sure
and I'm
do.
not looking forward to talking about
I
that
sure
match.
do.
Not for quality reasons, but
Oh,
man,
good Lord.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, they're bumping around for each other. Taker's getting his shit in. A-Train's getting his shit in. And they're fucking selling for each other. I'll say that much.
Except there wasn't a fucking last ride, and it made me so sad. I couldn't call the last ride.
Also, this is the second year in a row where I feel like Taker's been in a throwaway one-and-done feud at SummerSlam. So, again, back to the drawing board with Taker.
Think about this, though, ladies and gentlemen. Taker, in successive years at SummerSlam, fought both members of the TNA tag team in forgettable matches.
Very strange indeed.
The match
very strange indeed.
Let's just say that I prefer the match with Test way more than I do this one. Taker does not hit the last ride. A-Train hits the derailleur, but that's the closest near fall that you get. That's the only chance A-Train had at winning. But
that's another issue I had with this match. A-Train's signature move, the train wreck, was never attempted in this match, and the last ride and the tombstone pile driver also never attempted in this match.
Well, they were attempted, but Taker never hit them. And it made me, again, very sad that the last ride was not hit, just because, I always pop for that move. But
and
A-Train,
the fact that was Taker's finisher as a biker, that was his go-to in that time period.
Yeah. Oh, he would use the last ride for the rest of his career too. From that point, so A-Train slid out of a tombstone. Taker hits a chokeslam for the win. I mean, the match went 9 minutes, which I feel like is a little bit too long for this match. I feel like if it went 5, it would have been perfectly passable. But
well, shit, think about it. If you're Taker and Vince tries to give you a 5-minute match, I don't think that's happening. So I'm pretty sure.
No, probably not.
Taker at least 10 minutes, and they didn't even give him 10 minutes here. Star and a half. And that's being generous.
Star and a half.
Generous.
This was all about.
I like these two.
Yeah, no, me too. This was all about the angle at the end, though. So Taker goes back in, and A-Train is trying to fight him again. Taker's going for the last ride, and then Sable starts flirting with Taker. Taker's like, okay, little girl, and then he picks her by the throat and just like, no, he doesn't do that, but he tries to get her in position for a chokeslam, but then he looks towards the entranceway, and then Stephanie McMahon's music hits after about a month on the shelf, thanks to the A-Train. Sable looks horrified. Taker has the biggest smile on his face. Oh, God, the difference 4 years can make. Do you remember when Taker kidnapped Stephanie McMahon and tried to marry her in a ritualistic ceremony in the middle of the ring on Raw?
Yeah, I remember when he tried to crucify her and everything.
Yes.
And blood and fire, and Stephanie was screaming for her life, and Vince
don't forget.
help her, and it was, oh, God.
Don't forget. And then 4 years later at SummerSlam, they're teaming up on Sable. What the hell?
And spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, this is your big surprise for SummerSlam. Stephanie returning after a 3-week hiatus from SmackDown.
Well,
it ain't gonna get any better than this. So,
I mean, there were a few other surprises on the show which weren't as good, and we'll get to that. But
I'm gonna beat you to it. Stone Cold Steve Austin was a given. He ain't a surprise.
No.
So this is as good as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. That just goes to show how very lackluster this show is. So
yeah, speaking of lackluster,
also,
boy.
I hope you enjoyed the good guys winning on this show, because it's gonna go fucking down the shitter after this one. And
well,
I'm gonna
actually,
start getting real depressed, kayfabe wise.
No. The good guy wins in this next match, doesn't he?
No. I mean, in this pay-per-view. This pay-per-view belonged to the good guys. You know what I'm talking about. For the next couple of sequential pay-per-views, it's going to get really fucking bad for the baby faces.
It sure really is. It sure is, isn't it? But yeah, speaking of baby faces, there was a certain McMahon that also came back on the other side of the coin on Monday Night Raw, and he got into a scuffle.
This match is going to take some explaining background-wise.
You don't say.
Let's get it out of the way right now. It's Shane McMahon versus Eric Bischoff. How the hell did we get here? Well,
I still don't know.
Grab yourself some popcorn. Grab yourself a soda. Grab whatever snack you want. I'm going to explain the lore behind this match, and it gets fucking wild.
I'm so ready for this.
So we start up with Kane. Yes, Kane. As Zack alluded to in the last review, Kane was forced to take off his mask after losing a match with Triple H for the WWE Championship. I'm sorry, World Heavyweight Championship. It was championship versus mask. After Kane took off his mask, it revealed his face that he is a burn victim. He goes on a psychotic tear. He's attacking everybody, and he decides to tombstone Linda McMahon, Shane's mother. And if there's one thing that we know kayfabe-wise, you don't mess with Shane's mama. So
I will rewatch that tombstone. Just to cut you off real quick, I will rewatch that tombstone over and over again. I don't care if that makes me a sadist. I just found that entertaining. I'm sorry, but good Lord. Tombstoning Linda McMahon.
Don't worry.
Yep.
So Kane goes on a tear. Shane comes back. He attacks Kane. Shane wants Kane, but Bischoff won't let Shane get to Kane. So it's Shane versus Bischoff in a no disqualification match. Bischoff is able to beat Shane after Kane comes out and tombstone Shane on the steel steps. Shane is out of the picture for the time being. Bischoff decides to pay a visit to Linda McMahon at the home, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He basically molests her. Linda goes to slap Bischoff. Bischoff grabs her, puts her arms back, and forcibly kisses her. It's extremely uncomfortable to watch. JR comes back into the fold after. What happened to JR? Did Bischoff fuck his? No, Kane
set JR on fire, sir.
On fire during an interview.
I see a man who needs help. It's one of the most famous Deadlock podcast moments of all time when they talk about the JR getting set on fire incident there. Honestly, I don't think us explaining it could honestly do it justice, but JR is going to interview Kane and he's like, you just got to say screw it. I am what I say I am. And then, all that stuff. And then Austin comes out and in a hostage situation.
Comes out, and he
fuck you, Kane.
Threatens to sue the WWE over what Kane did to JR. Mm-hmm. And Bischoff begs, please don't. And Austin says, okay, JR, if you get a match with what happens here? Does Austin say JR won't sue so Stone Cold has a contract. I know it's all coming back to me now. Stone Cold has a contract, and JR says he will not press charges if Bischoff agrees to wrestle a match. Bischoff grabs the contract, he signs it real quick and says, okay, fine, bring Shane out, I'm going to have me fight Shane. Austin says, you idiot, you did not even read the contract. You actually signed a contract to face Kane in a match tonight. Kane comes out, he for some reason shows mercy to Bischoff because we can't have that glorious payoff. And Kane leaves the ring. Kane gets counted out. Bischoff wins. Austin comes out again and says, not so fast. You didn't read the fine print of this contract. The winner of Kane and Bischoff goes on to SummerSlam to fight Shane. Oh my God.
Lord.
This is such a fucking convoluted roller coaster from start to finish.
Honestly,
from point A to point B. You know how it's point A, point B? This
was like watching that episode. It was like watching that episode of Low Key when you watch the multiverse actually do all those little branches there. That's pretty much what we were seeing, except the bad version. So
how did we start off with Kane and end off with Shane and Bischoff? Oh my God!
And Kane is on this pay-per-view too. We are not done talking about Kane. Yeah, but
let's just say Kane has some unfinished business before he can actually start fighting Shane. And I can't wait to continuously say Shane and Kane for the next few months because we're going to be saying Shane and Kane for the next few months.
Don't remind me of that last man standing match, please. I mean, we're not there yet, but
I think we're going to be talking more about the build-up than we do the actual quote-unquote match.
Tomas is using very heavy air quotes here because this is pretty much a glorified segment and a half that went on. Let's see how long this thing went. I have it in my notes here. 10
minutes and 36 seconds.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that went... Okay, so Shane is basically throwing those weird whiffed punches at Uncle Eric here, and they're fighting outside. And then what happens is freaking Jonathan Coachman, who's been sitting there for God knows how long, turns heel. Jonathan Coachman, the announcer who was doing comedy bits with The Rock a year ago, turns heel, hits Shane in the back with the chair.
We have Shane McMahon, who's not a wrestler, versus Bischoff, who is not a wrestler. And we have a heel turn from a commentator.
What
is going on in this match?
My friends, this was Eric Bischoff's contingency plan and not using the Intercontinental fucking champion to his advantage. Jonathan Coachman.
Use the announcer.
Yeah, if we're using Tomas terminology, Jonathan Coachman in Eric Bischoff's eyes is greater than Christian Cage. What?
Apparently. And then, so it's funny because Coachman hits Shane with the chair. And he hits him with the chair like 3 times. And then the referee goes, oh my God, that's a disqualification. Ring the Bischoff says, not so fast. I'm the general manager. I just made this disqualification. No count out. And you know what? Just for the hell of it, it's false count anywhere now. So Bischoff goes for the pin. No, he doesn't go for the pin yet. He tells Coach to introduce Shane into those steel steps. This is where the heat is on. And then it gets even wilder. They throw him back in the ring. Coach says he's the greatest commentator of all time. So
turn off JR and the King. Cut them off.
Turn off the mics.
What the hell?
Coachman's going to do live commentary right here, right now. You know how people say if you go to like a parking lot in the middle of the night or you go to a gas station in the middle of the night,
God,
air just feels different. That's how I feel whenever I can't hear the commentators. It just feels weird and different, and like I feel unsafe, and I need to leave right then and there.
Well, that's how it is every time you go to a live show too. Like the commentators aren't there to
TV,
like.
If I turn on Monday Night Raw right now and I don't hear Graves and Saxton and Smith,
they just don't talk.
I'm gonna feel uncomfortable.
They just don't talk for a little bit, yeah. But yeah, Coach is imitating JR to get heat on the microphone, and that's when the glass shatters and the crowd loses their fucking marbles for Stone Cold to walk out. And Coach is like, so the gimmick is Austin as the gimmick.
You want to talk about the provoking? Because that's when this rule is officially in effect.
Gladly. So Stone Cold Steve Austin is co-general manager with Eric Bischoff at the time, just to remind everybody who hasn't been keeping up to date with our retros here. So Austin's gimmick is he can't like physically harm anybody who, you know, is egging him on unless he is physically provoked. Jonathan Coachman goes in there and he's like, I'm not touching you.
That rule was put into place because Linda told Austin, you can't just beat everybody up whenever you want, because Austin was abusing his power,
which is very fair. He was
kicking ass whenever he felt like about it. So Linda
which is very fair.
If you're going to be the general manager, you can't lay your hand on anybody unless you are physically provoked. So Austin was caught in this awkward. People were pushing his buttons, not literally because they can't touch him, but God. It was a very
get out of here, you idiot.
The only time they ever nerfed Austin, honestly, you know, Austin not being able to openly whoop ass.
Yeah, Coach was like, I'm not touching you. He's like waving his hand in front of his face. Shane shoves Coach from behind, and Coach hits Austin in the chest, and Austin gets the biggest smile on his face, and he kicks the ever-loving shiznit out of Jonathan Coachman, and Shane helps him out. And then
one thing I did enjoy about this match, it's when Austin and Shane started kicking the shit out of Coach in the corner, because I just laughed and said, "Karma's a bitch, isn't it?"
seeing Austin and Shane teaming up as a kid, I was like, okay, this is a good tandem right here. And Austin was like laughing at a bunch of Shane's antics. So Shane picks Eric Bischoff up, who's been unconscious at this point.
Also, Austin says, "Turn on Lawler and Jim Ross's mics back on."
That's right.
The commentary back. I'm done having anxiety attack. The commentary's back.
Well, now we know what gives Tomas anxiety. No commentators, so we're just gonna have to when we get to certain Survivor Series brand warfare matches, we just got to make sure to mute the TV to make sure Tomas is on the edge of his seat. So, anyway, what happens next is Shane picks Bischoff up, who has been beaten. And Shane gets Bischoff's hand like a marionette, slaps Austin in the face, and Austin hits him with a big, gigantic stunner. Shane goes for the pin, and he pulls Bischoff's head up. He's like, no, I don't want to finish the match this way. Which, honestly, I'll give the match bonus points for not ending the match on the stunner. Because what happens is
it would make Shane look weak. It made it look Shane look like, oh, I couldn't win this match without Austin's help, which is obviously not true.
Obviously not true at all. Shane McMahon could totally beat Eric Bischoff by himself.
Shane's not a wrestler, but he's a scrapper. And he can, throw hands with the best.
He's a scrapper who, throws the worst punches known to man nowadays. But in any case, Shane brings
I'm sorry. I will never reference that again. I will never reference that again.
Oh my God.
While I was watching SummerSlam, I was like, "Oh, Shane."
So Shane is laying Bischoff out on the Spanish announce table, and JR, or not, it wasn't JR, it was the King. I think the King had the quote of the night. He was like, "Hey JR, have I ever told you how happy I am to not be a Spanish announcer?"
I like how that was the first thing Waller said after his headset came back on. Not, "Oh my God, thank God we got rid of Coach and Bischoff." And no, he was wanting to get that joke across because God was Waller not being able to tell a pun.
And I'm like, holy shit, that's right, though. Like, honestly, like, it's always the Spanish announce table that gets broken on one of these papers.
Meanwhile, Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Savinovich are, I'm like, oh my God, this shit again, as they're getting up from their announcement.
Yeah, so Michael Cole probably on a muted microphone was like, "Shane's on the top rope! Shane's on the top rope!" And then he jumps off the top, and then he hits the flying elbow drop through the announce table, as Shane McMahon always does. And there's the academic 3 count. Austin is laughing and guffawing so much in the ring. I mean, do I even have to rate this? Like, honestly.
Fun. Not as fun as, like, Austin versus Bischoff. It wasn't good like Hogan and Vince. It was just, I don't know. It was there. It got the job done, I feel like.
Yeah, it was.
I just feel like it was so convoluted. It was kind of like it's like WWE was missing that weird featured fight on this show, and they resorted to Shane and Bischoff, which honestly, if you would have put Shane and Kane on this show, I think it would have been just fine. And, you know, spoiler alert, Kane and RVD could have just been on an episode of Raw.
I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to it. But up next is actually a very, very fun featured match here. A fatal 4-way for the United States Championship, which has been newly revived, so to speak, as of a month ago at Vengeance. Eddie Guerrero, the champion, defending against Chris Benoit, Rhyno, and Tajiri. Oh my gosh, where do I even begin? This is like an ECW like showcase right here. All these guys.
Also, Michael Cole constantly refers to the United States title as the resurrected United States title. And it's like, okay, let's take a step back, Cole. Like the title.
I mean, it kind of is though. It kind of is.
Saying like, oh, it's dead. We brought it back to life, like it's a zombie. Yeah. Like, chill out. Like,
yeah, we buried it. We buried it with WCW, and then we brought it out from underground and gave it a brand new American flag belt. Yeah,
like,
you know, something like that.
Cole was saying that like the United States Championship was absolutely worthless until the WWE brought it back to life, and it's like, hold your tongue, Cole.
Hold your horses.
Austin. You know,
Harley Race will have something to say about that.
Please tell me, yeah, I'm wrong about that.
You know, Lex Luger.
United States Championship. My favorite United States Championship of all time is Stunning Steve Austin versus Ricky Steamboat. So don't be shitting on that WCW United States title.
That's right. There were some good ass matches for the U.S. title in WCW. So,
oh yeah.
This was honestly,
this
was a freaking awesome match. This was my second favorite match on the show, if you can believe that. Tajiri, I mean, there were guys who weren't getting as much of a reaction. Rhyno had just turned heel after turning on his friend Chris Benoit, who was full white meat babyface. Eddie Guerrero was just making the transition from his brief heel stint into more of a tweener in this case, and then he'd be full on babyface. Pretty much, I don't want to say for the rest of his days. There was that one point he would turn heel before he passed away, but
yeah. The brief build-up we get into this match is that there was a tag team match on SmackDown, and Eddie turned on everybody. He laid everybody out with the belt.
He sure did.
Just to say he lies, he cheats, he steals, and you can't trust him.
I lie, I cheat, I steal. You know, something like that.
Basically, and a fatal 4-way match. There are no partners. This is a free-for-all. And free-for-all this match was. This match was absolutely all over the place. It kind of reminded me of how when you would play a fatal 4-way on one of the video games, and there will be so much carnage happening at the same time. I feel like there will be a submission going on one side of the ring, and then on the other side of the ring, they're prepping for a superplex. So it was like where do my eyes go? There is so much going on during this match.
Speaking of submissions, I loved the spot where Eddie locked the lasso from El Paso onto Tajiri, who he was tag champions with like a few months prior to this.
Literally like 2 months ago.
Yeah. So Eddie locks in the lasso onto Tajiri, and then at the exact same time, Benoit puts the crippler crossface on Rhyno, and it's like, oh my God, who's gonna tap out first? And then Eddie keeps like looking back.
Yeah,
Like,
Eddie
he
has this
sold it
great
so
look on his
well.
face, like, oh shit, I need to make Tajiri tap out right now before Rhyno taps out and I lose my title. It's like Eddie was playing an excellent defensive champion in this match, making sure
Fantastic.
all of the bases were covered. And when he saw that he was kind of locked in a position where he was helpless, it was like, well, shit, what do I do? Do I make Tajiri tap out or do I break my hold just to break Benoit's hold?
Right.
And Tajiri makes it to the ropes. And then Eddie says, fuck it. He goes, starts kicking Benoit in the head. Benoit won't relinquish.
Right in the
Tajiri
fucking
has
head,
to
too.
come over and starts kicking him in the head. And after like 3 kicks, Benoit finally relinquishes the hold. My God.
You know, as someone who like just rewatched that Dark Side of the Ring 2-parter, like seeing those head kicks just brought back some really, really bad memories, and it made me shudder. But I mean, these guys there was a point where Benoit was chopping the fuck out of Rhyno, and I was like, God, they weren't joking. Whenever they went into the ring with Benoit, he would smack you around. You know, like those knife edge chops, no joke. You know what else was no joke? Were Tajiri's kicks. Absolutely loud here. Him and Benoit had a really, really fantastic sequence in here where Tajiri actually hit triple Germans of his own. And I was like, man, Tajiri is deceptively strong.
At the end, though, like Benoit hit a couple
Beautiful.
of Germans, and then Tajiri reversed it, and then he hit a spider German suplex, and then flipped over and tried to bridge it into a pin. Oh my God. This was like, Tajiri to me as a kid always felt kind of like a gimmick with the green mist. I'm glad I get to look back on his matches as an adult and say, holy shit, this guy is such a good wrestler. And I'm also even happier when the network first came out that I got to go back and rewatch all of his ECW matches too. Because man, Tajiri could go in ECW.
Tajiri is an unsung, diamond in the rough here. He was so good.
Oh yeah.
And he proved it in this match. Everybody was on top of their game. But pretty much finish comes around. Tajiri is locking a tarantula on Chris Benoit, which honestly could make Benoit submit, and it would be completely legal under Fatal 4-Way rules.
Once.
So for once, yeah, the tarantula actually makes sense.
Finisher is actually legal for once.
Yeah. So on the other side of the ring, Eddie Guerrero being the dastardly veteran that he is, takes his title into the ring. Rhyno charges towards him for the gore. And Rhyno hits his shoulder right on the U.S. title belt right there. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But my thing is the referee was preoccupied with the tarantula and he didn't see Eddie hit Rhyno with the belt there. And I'm like, did you really need the distraction? Yeah. If I'm nitpicking there, like, it is Fatal 4-Way, so I get it. You really want to put over this gimmick of Eddie Guerrero's here, but, like, it's Fatal 4-Way, so it shouldn't really matter where the ref is looking. So... in any case, Rhyno is down for a while. Tajiri is upside down in a tree of woe for quite some time. Benoit leaps off the top of Tajiri in a really, really strange spot in a strange visual. Tajiri upside down, Benoit on top of him on his knees, hitting the diving headbutt on Rhyno. And then
Tajiri... not to cut you off, and this
go ahead.
Kind of floating in my head right now. We're going to talk about inconsistencies in this show, and there were some inconsistencies with these matches, like are there disqualifications or not in a Fatal 4-Way? Well, obviously there are because there's rope breaks, but obviously there's not because Tajiri could put in a tarantula. But obviously there is because of the championship belt. I was watching Wrestle Kingdom last week, and there was a 6-man match that featured, I don't remember who all was in it, but Phantasmo was in it. And his gimmick going into the match was he's been winning a lot of his matches with a loaded boot, but nobody has been able to prove that Phantasma was using a loaded boot in all the matches. Yeah. Literally all 3 of his opponents from the opposing team held Phantasmo down, took off his boot, and showed the referee there's a piece of metal in his boot. Here's proof that he's been using a loaded boot this entire match. So the referee disqualified just Phantasmo. He got thrown out of the match, and it continued to be a handicap match. I feel like that's how it should be in multi-man matches. If someone's going to cheat and there's disqualifications, okay, fine. You're out of the match. It's a triple threat now.
Yeah. Yeah, it really should be, for sure. And that's a really great point. I mean, if WWE, for some reason, decides to go back to disqualifications in a Fatal 5-Way match, for example, or whatever, yeah, if they're DQ'd, they're out.
That'd be the only way to do it. That's how you eliminate consistencies. Like, if you want it to be a straight-up wrestling match, no interference, no weapons, a traditional match, that's the way to do it. That would kind of, like, bring some order and some actual rules to some of these matches, And the inconsistencies aren't going to stop. We're going to talk about them more later. But
oh boy, are we going to talk about those?
That just randomly popped to my mind because I thought about, you know what? Oh, well, shit, they just did it at Wrestle Kingdom. And it was a perfect example.
They sure did, yeah. But this was, the finish of the match. Tajiri, Hurricane Rana's Benoit, and they're outside the ring now. Eddie picks up the scraps, hits the frog splash on Rhyno, and he retains his title there. Get used to that statement, retaining the championship here at SummerSlam 2003, because no titles changed hands on this card. But this was, honestly, I'm comfortable giving it a 4, Tomas. I really dug this match. It was, very fast-paced all throughout. They only got 10 minutes, and again, if I were to nitpick it a little bit more, would have maybe upped it by, maybe 5 minutes. Maybe if it were a 15-minute clinic, it would have been even better. But
I kind of realized this, too, after rewatching day one. When you have so many men or so many people in one match, I feel like the length doesn't matter just as long as the action is fast and furious and you have fun watching it.
It was
I feel
very
like I
fun.
didn't give the Fatal 5-Way enough credit at day one, and it was really good. And I'll say about this too, I don't think it would have mattered if they got one more time. They did a lot in those 10 minutes.
That's fair. That's totally fair, yeah. And honestly, 10 minutes, what they did with it was boom, 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 boom. No dead spots in there, so...
If this was a one-on-one match, that'd be seeing an entirely different tune.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, oh boy, speaking of titles, here we are. Match of the night here.
Another match. Grab your popcorn, grab your soda. I'm going to have to explain more build-up. It's okay, though. But this is a lot more interesting than the Shane and Bischoff situation. It's
very much so.
Versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. The last time we were on this show, Kurt Angle was just returning and kind of tweening into babyface, and Brock Lesnar was the babyface. Here, the roles are entirely switched from WrestleMania. Kurt Angle's your white meat babyface. Brock Lesnar is a more vicious heel than he's ever been before. How did we get to this point? After Angle won the WWE Championship at Vengeance, Lesnar came out and said, I was there for you throughout your entire injuries. I'm cashing in my rematch. Angle thinks about it, says, okay, you're on.
Please
comes out.
Please rephrase that in the Brock Lesnar impression.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
I don't know, Kurt. I came out and I was like, that's great.
That's great, Kurt. And I'm here to challenge you, in his exact words, my WWE Championship rematch. Vince comes out and says, not so fast. I know you get an automatic rematch clause, but I'm saying no way, Jose.
Thank you.
Vince didn't say that, but that's my silly way of interpreting it.
Yeah.
And he says that
Brock
Lesnar can get a championship match if he beats... Okay, so he said no to the match. In the backstage area, Lesnar says, okay, why don't I prove that I can get a rematch by beating your ass, Vince? And Vince says, okay, but it's going to be in a steel cage. And Kurt Angle is going to be your special guest referee. So let me lay out the stage. It's Vince McMahon versus Brock Lesnar in a steel cage with Kurt Angle as a special guest referee. And if Lesnar wins, he gets a WWE Championship.
Let's say if it were a real fight. Let's say if that were a real fight, Vince would be killed in 3 seconds. Oh,
he would. He wouldn't be breathing right now.
Good fucking Lord. Why would he sign up for that?
It gets even better. Lesnar is attacked backstage. And they say that Lesnar could be concussed, just like a WrestleMania. Bad timing. I think so. Lesnar goes to the ring. He's hobbling. He goes to F5 Vince, and he collapses, basically. Vince goes to pick up the scraps, and Angle says, you know what? This is not right. I'm not counting this pin. He gets his hands on Vince, and then Lesnar beautifully nips up out of his supposed coma, and he absolutely annihilates Kurt Angle. It was a ruse, fall from the start. Brock Lesnar is now a heel. He has made a deadly alliance with Vince McMahon, and now the stage is set. Lesnar, Angle, at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. In the build-up to this match, Zack Gowen gets absolutely fucking murdered.
Brutalized by Brock Lesnar. And may I remind you, that match between Brock Lesnar and Zack Gowen was in Zack Gowen's hometown of Detroit. And Brock brutalizes this poor kid right in front of his mom sitting in the front row. This poor one-legged kid who was like, okay, I'm going to dream of being a WWE superstar. I'm going to defy all the odds. And it's like the feel-good story of the year. He comes in and Brock Lesnar fucking kills him. Leaves him in a bloody pulp, breaks his one leg. At least it's not his
goal. Lesnar's goal in that match was to break Gowan's leg. His one leg. He F5s him against the steel pole twice, and then oh my god, that chair shot. Oh. That fucking chair shot Gowan took in that match.
Sickening. Absolutely sickening.
So,
and
you didn't think Brock Lesnar was a bad guy, you're going to think so after you saw that match.
Yeah, Brock basically, he not only put Zack Gowen out of commission, but he actually trims this card down a match because Zack Gowen was originally supposed to be wrestling Matt Hardy version 1 on this card. And Matt Hardy on Sunday Night Heat was like, yeah, okay, so I actually have the quote right here. He's in the ring, he's saying, Zack Gowen is not a real wrestler because a real wrestler would show up to work, raise my hand, referee, and declare me the winner via forfeit. Is that a good enough Matt Hardy impression? I'm working on it.
It's good enough.
Working on it? Okay, for sure. I don't have a Matt fact in front of me, so...
You got that North Kakalaki accent going.
North Kakalaki, getting it, but but back to Angle Lesnar. Angle was greeted by "You suck" chants as a babyface. So let me remind everybody, Kurt is the top babyface in the company, being greeted by "You suck" chants at this point. I
absolutely loved the dynamic of this match because it went
so
from
good.
Just being a championship match to basically Kurt Angle was the hero. This was Angle going, because this was basically the time where it was a power struggle on SmackDown. Angle knows he cannot let Lesnar get this WWE Championship because since he's aligned with Vince, all the power is going to be there. So Angle is literally the superhero in this match trying to take down this absolute monster in Lesnar. It's not about respect anymore. It's personal now. And I loved that dynamic.
I was just as invested rewatching this match as I was when I first ordered this pay-per-view when I was like 6-7 years old. Kurt Angle was my guy. Because The Rock was not on TV, and I was like, okay, I gotta, kind of latch on to somebody else. Kurt Angle was that guy for me. And I was just honestly in awe watching this thing. It was easily match of the night. I don't want to say it was as good as Mania 19. Definitely not as good as their Iron Man match.
At some points, this match had better storytelling than their match at Mania. At some points.
Yeah, I think at some points, for sure. There wasn't like a horrendous botch at the end either. They actually went with the planned finish. So, but the thing is, I feel like because it was the WrestleMania main event, I feel like I hold that match in higher regard than this one right here. Fifth match on the card of the most underwhelming SummerSlam.
Kind of like, and we'll get into this in a couple years, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. Their Vengeance match was very, very good, but the WrestleMania match is iconic. So, of course, we're going to always refer to the Mania match. I think the only thing a lot of people remember that Angle and Michaels. A lot of people don't remember that Angle and Michaels wrestled at Vengeance, just like a lot of people don't remember that Angle and Lesnar wrestled at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and in the same vein, a lot of people don't remember that Angle and Lesnar had an Iron Man match on that SmackDown for the title, where Lesnar would eventually regain the title. A lot of people
when you're done watching this review, please go out of your way. Watch that Iron Man match. It's amazing.
Oh my God, I need to go rewatch that Iron Man match after this myself because, I mean, just thinking about it, one of the best matches in SmackDown history, in my opinion. But anyway, I feel like we're digressing a little too much. Kurt Angle and Lesnar, they're two amateur wrestlers doing amateur wrestler things for the WWE title. This was outstanding technical wrestling here. Suplexes all over the place. Kurt actually locked on a weird, backwards triangle choke almost, where he was hanging on to Brock like an orangutan and his legs were choking him, and I was like...
It was really cool, and the way Angle was able to reverse that into the ankle lock, that was one thing I loved about this match. Angle had so many cool different ways of getting the ankle lock onto Lesnar in this match.
Yeah, Kurt was hitting the angle slam, the ankle lock. Vince McMahon still can't... No. not yet.
You want to talk about Vince?
Okay, no. Hold the sexy Kurt song for later. But okay. Yeah, this was so Brock is hitting F5s everywhere. A beautiful counter by Kurt out of the F5 into a tornado DDT, which the crowd popped immensely for. there was, it's a submission move by Kurt, where his legs are, choking Brock out, hitting the ankle slam, of course, and then he locks on the ankle lock. I feel like there was a point where his straps went down not once but twice, just to like fire himself back up. That's a weird kind of gimmick. I honestly feel like, okay, how many times can he like recharge those batteries? Pull the straps down, like
exactly,
I don't know, like you're playing WWE Day of Reckoning or something like that. How many times can he hit those buttons for the special? So
exactly, you got to use the taunt so your meter will go up and you can use your finisher.
And Brock was in the ankle lock for a pretty decent amount of time, and I think the referee had gone down. Did the ref
get knocked out?
I think Brock had clotheslined his head off. I want to say. I could be very wrong about that. Yeah. I believe it was Brock, though. Kurt had the ankle lock on him. Vince McMahon saunters down to the ring with a nice-looking steel chair. Slides it in.
Talking about nice, was it casual Sunday for Vince or something? Because
he was like wearing
out there like he just got back from the sunny beaches of Arizona. That's not right.
Arizona has sunny beaches?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That doesn't sound right.
Last I checked, I was like, okay.
Vince walked out there pretty casual looking, like
with his Tommy Bahama polo.
Yeah, I was like, this must be casual Sunday for Vince.
Must be. At least he didn't tear his quads on the way down to the ring this time. But
not yet.
We'll get there too. But this match, Brock was in that ankle lock for a solid amount of time. Vince is sauntering out, as Tomas said, with his Tommy Bahama attire. He throws a steel chair into the ring. Angle gets distracted. Brock, in a very impressive feat of strength, hits the F5 on Kurt while he's hopping on one foot. I feel like when I saw that happen on a rewatch, Tomas, I couldn't help but think, God, I feel like Angle and Brock had a bet in the backstage area where Angle was like, I bet you can't hit the F5 while you're hopping on one foot. And Brock was like, I don't know, Kurt. You better try me. And then
exactly. Also,
it's
Kurt,
the F5.
Don't get mad if I drop you on your head on the way down, which is exactly what it is.
These Brock Lesnar impressions, I can't. But okay. So yeah, he hits the F5 on one leg. It was freaking great, and the crowd pops when Kurt kicks out of the F5. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's not the first time someone kicked out of the F5, but it was insane. It was a huge deal.
Yeah. It was a big deal, though. It was a pretty big deal.
Didn't happen very often, but that was an excellent near fall. Maybe the best near fall of the whole night, if you ask me.
And if you want to talk about first time ever, Angle is able to get back the ankle lock, and Lesnar is in this ankle lock for a very, very, very long time. So it is very justified for the first time in his career, Brock Lesnar taps out.
Yep.
And Kurt Angle retains and wins and retains the WWE Championship. I absolutely love this match. The dynamic was absolutely amazing. The storytelling was absolutely amazing. It's match of the night, 4.5 stars. I love that match.
I'm gonna match you
in the rough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna match the 4.5 stars here. This is an excellent pro wrestling match here. This is the really the first time for me. This is where a match truly felt like SummerSlam, like the second biggest show of the year. And these two, again, WrestleMania main event rematch here, so fitting enough here. Absolutely excellent. And then post-match is even better. The crowd, not even better, per se. The match was outstanding, but as a little kid, I was like, okay, this was awesome. Kurt and Vince get into it, and then he hits the angle slam on Vince and implodes that poor steel chair underneath him. So, great. And then Kurt was egging the crowd on by saying, you suck, along with him. And I was like, he's a white meat babyface, all right.
Also,
gotta love him.
Michael Cole says, good for you, Kurt. And I'm like, yeah, good for you, Kurt. Score one for the good guys. Enjoy it, because it's going to get bad. It's going to get real bad. Let's save all of that for the No Mercy review in a little bit. I think all the buildup will be talked about between now and No Mercy. We got Unforgiven right in the middle right there. But like I said, when you have dual branded pay-per-views that get 2 months to build storylines, a lot happens in 8 weeks. And I miss
Sure
that.
does.
I really do.
Sure does, yeah. But speaking of a lot going on, how about this next match, Tomas? It's Kane going one-on-one with Rob Van Dam, and the Fink announces right then and there that this match is no holds barred. And honestly, with the way that this whole convoluted build with Kane's unmasking, him being in the middle of the Shane and Bischoff, like, honestly, that's a whole nother topic for another time. I feel like how they handled Kane's unmasking was just so off on so many levels, just because they had him in the middle of this weird rivalry between two non-wrestlers, and then his former tag partners kind of left out in the dust, so to speak. I don't want to say out in the smoke because that would be way too obvious, but honestly, I feel like if the build was just Kane and Van Dam going into this, I mean, I feel like I would have enjoyed this match a lot more because for what it was, this match was very fun. It was a lot better than I remember.
Can you believe this was the buffer match between your two world title matches? This was your buffer match.
I don't believe this.
I think you could have swapped the placing between this and Kane's brother, The Undertaker, in his match.
You definitely could have, for sure. I think if you had this be like the second match on the show, hell, maybe even put Shane and Bischoff in the semi-main and have this go on third after The Undertaker's match. But this was, the crowd, I want to say the crowd was into it. The crowd, so Kane... Okay, so can I just say that the presentation of Kane being unmasked and all that, which honestly, it's a huge, huge character shift, but honestly, I feel like there was a bit of a missed opportunity here, not just because of, like, the towel in itself, cool, okay, but I loved the image of Kane on house arrest and being in chains, being led down to the ring by a group of terrified security guards. Have that every single time he walks out to the ring, like the first few months he's unmasked, just because it puts so much power on Kane without him really having to wrestle, really. Like, I wouldn't have even had him wrestle Eric Bischoff on Raw at that point. Like, I feel like...
see what Kane has done, like, since he unmasked. He tombstoned an old woman on steel. He chokeslammed the general manager off the stage.
And then he... Oh, before I forget... I think he chokeslammed Eric Bischoff off the stage first, and then there was that weird, like, camera angle where he was like...
Yes, exactly.
He zoomed in on him like...
on fire. He dropped Shane on his head on some steel steps.
Did he electrocute
Van Dam.
Did he electrocute Kane at that point? Or that's later? Okay.
No, that's later.
That's later.
And then he kidnapped his tag team partner and then hung him up and tortured him. So
tortured him?
Yeah, I think Kane is very overpowered at this point.
Threatened to set him on fire as well. Not that that would affect Rob Van Dam, but in any case, sorry, that's a bad one. But honestly, I can't believe how over Rob Van Dam was still at this point. Like, even though he had not won the World Heavyweight Championship as of a year ago in this retrospective, like, it's just crazy how the crowd was still so behind him, which honestly doesn't surprise me because Van Dam was super endearing in the way he presented himself, and he's going up against this big, unstoppable monster. I feel like if I were to nitpick this match, even though it's very fun, I think Kane and Van Dam have a very, safe, easy match with one another. I feel like I would have liked more weapons. I think that would have helped tell this story a little better.
Oh, yeah. It was very last minute in the way this match was put together. And again, it was your buffer match. So I wouldn't be surprised if they told Kane and RVD, hey, don't go too crazy. We got an Elimination Chamber match coming up.
I wish they would have gone crazy with the Elimination Chamber up next, but there was a point where Kane goes and hits he tries to hit his flying clothesline to the outside, which is a pretty neat visual, only he completely whiffs it and misses Van Dam, and the crowd promptly chants, "You fucked up," at the unmasked maniac there. And then, I mean, like, I don't know. The Kane unmasking thing just still gets to me just because there was so much missed potential left out on the table. But
yeah, also, Kane was in the same place that Undertaker was. They really had nothing for him. So it's like, okay, let's take that mask off.
Yeah, we're going to take your mask off. And like, okay.
Had some mystique with Kane, kind of like, well, it was, I feel like it was always in the back of WWE's mind, like, eventually we're going to take that mask off. Like, but when? Let's wait for him to get extremely stale and boring. Okay.
I would have much preferred he just kept the mask on, honestly, just because I feel like the terror of Kane and the aura of Kane is a whole lot better if his face is expressionless and you don't know what he's thinking. Like, you take the mask off, that's it.
Yeah, and then think about way down the line when he puts the mask back on in 2012, just
So
to take it back
dumb.
off in 2013,
So dumb.
just to put it back on in 2014.
Oh my
just to
God.
take it off again, and it's like, oh my God.
Like, make up your mind.
Just keep taking the thing on and off whenever you feel like it.
Just keep the mask on. That's the easiest thing. But
I feel like when he put the mask back on in 2012, I was like, okay, keep it on him until we retire if you're going to do this. Nope, not even a year later. They took it right back off.
They sure do. They sure do. There's a Rolling Thunder on the steel chair that Van Dam introduced and Kane sat up just because he's like the fiendish style monster at this point that, is no selling everything. Van Dam hits a Van Terminator with the chair. He goes up to the top, tries to hit it coast to coast, but Kane moves out of the way. And then your finish is Kane hits a tombstone pile driver on RVD on the steel steps on the outside, and God, that sounded sickening. JR's selling of that spot was pitch perfect there. And, I don't want to say his, what's the word I'm looking for? Not trauma, but, like PTSD. There you go. PTSD.
Yeah, because JR brought that up when Kane was on the way out to the ring. It was like, oh, what that monster did to me. He lit me on fire. I still feel it all down. I'm like, WWE, maybe you want to give JR this match off. It's kind of fucked up that you would make him call this match.
Make him call this match? Yeah. So in this case,
weeks after he was lit on fire.
So in this case, we'll just go ahead and cut the commentary off entirely, right? We'll just watch the match. We'll just watch the match in pitch silence. Yeah, but man, could you imagine? But yeah, so definitely a fantastic looking tombstone on the stairs, and Kane basically pins Van Dam clean as a whistle. And of course, was there any doubt that Kane won just because you just took his fucking mask off there? I'm gonna say this is a 3-star match, maybe 3 1/4 if I'm being generous. It was
quarter. The placement was weird. Yeah, it was fine. Just the placement was very weird, and it was made to feel like it wasn't important when it was Raw's biggest angle at the time.
Very important.
Biggest angle at the time.
Very peak importance there, but
it'll get better. Trust me, it'll get a lot better.
Well,
and this wouldn't be the last week's RVD because they would have a rematch at Unforgiven the next month.
Well, I mean, if what you mean by better is a last man standing match with Shane McMahon and Unforgiven.
Exactly.
Fuck off. No, we're not doing that. Okay.
You're right. He fights Shane. I'm thinking of Matt Hardy. Kane fights Matt Hardy at Vengeance and SummerSlam.
Yep, that's the till death do us part match, which we will get to.
Next year.
Next year. Yep. We'll hold off on that for right now. But your main event of SummerSlam 2003, Tomas. We've been alluding to it this whole time. It was.
Here we go. So you ever play SmackDown versus Raw, and then you pick an Elimination Chamber match, and then you pick the random button, and it gives you 6 random wrestlers. Well, here's your match of the evening.
Oh my God, you're the
Triple
worst.
H defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Jericho.
Well, if it were random, it would have been like Triple H, Bubba Ray Dudley, Rodney Mack, Randy Orton,
the Hurricane,
and fuck it, Umaga. How about Umaga? Why not?
Umaga, 3 years.
3 years before Umaga debuts. Yep, we're just gonna put him out there. So,
this match was very just. Oh, look at all these people that don't like Triple H.
Oh, it was so annoying. This match, honestly, with hindsight being there, this was a really, really infuriating match to sit through. And first of all, let me just say this. So Randy Orton was actually, this is the first ever pay-per-view match of Randy Orton, who has since gone on to break the record of most pay-per-view matches in history by any superstar. So this is a span
of almost 20 years.
I know this is number 1 for him, and honestly, I really wish there was a better match we could talk about with him, just because he deserves it. But oh boy,
so here's all of Raw's main event scene. They had nothing else better for them. So they threw him into this match. And again, Michaels, Orton, Jericho, and Nash, they were basically, let's get this out of the way right now. They were cannon fodder for which was the real feud, which was Triple H and Goldberg.
Well, the original plan for this show was Triple H versus Goldberg one-on-one, but then what happened was Triple H tore his groin, and they had to basically, compensate for that and cover up and basically say, okay, fine, we're just gonna, okay, the Elimination Chamber was popular back in Survivor Series, let's just, resurrect that.
That explains why he barely worked this match.
Yeah. You didn't know he was injured?
I think I did, but it probably escaped my mind because do you think I go back and watch this match a lot? I don't.
No. This is definitely one of the weaker Elimination Chamber matches in history, that's for sure.
Orton's on his way to the ring, and he's coming out to Line in the Sand, which is a very underappreciated song.
Evolution's theme song. Rest in peace, Lemmy. Rest in peace, Lemmy.
Followed by Kevin Nash, who has short hair right now because kayfabe-wise, he got into a little scuffle with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho made him look like a fucking chump and cut his hair off on TV. But what was the real reason why he cut his hair?
Yeah, so actually what had happened was on the Go Home Raw, it was Jericho versus Nash in a hair versus hair match. And then Jericho had, I guess he cheated to win, and then he, handcuffed Nash to the ropes or something like that. But the real reason Nash got his hair cut to look like it did was because he had gotten a role in the Punisher film. So he was required by the studio to cut his hair. So Vince had wrote in a storyline for that. So,
oh man, so
there you go.
Kevin Nash is going to be in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh no! Shut up, you idiot! No, we're not doing that. we're not doing that. No, we're getting more worthwhile cameos in this. So,
so yeah, Nash, and then we get Jericho, and then we get Michaels, and we get Triple H. Well, then we get Triple H. Which what did you call Triple H during this match?
Triple H was a gimp with a belt, basically.
Yeah, and Goldberg. Yeah, so the match starts off. It's Michaels and Jericho, and they don't do anything for a few minutes, and then Nash gets in the match, and then they don't do anything for a few minutes, and then Orton comes in the match, and they don't really do anything for a few minutes. And
I think what happened was, I think
nothing happens in this match.
I think Orton was entering third to be in there with Michaels and Jericho, and then Nash came in fourth. I think Nash went for a jackknife on Jericho, and then Michaels super kicked his best friend, and then Jericho gets a jackknife cover, ironically enough, to eliminate Nash. That's it. He's done. That's the last you see of Nash in WWE until he makes his return in the Royal Rumble in 2011. Fun fact.
Yep. Bye-bye. Nash goes and films Punisher. Then he goes off to TNA, where he decides to make their lives a living hell for
He goes off to TNA, films the Longest Yard remake on the side. It's a fun time to be Kevin Nash.
He ruins the X Division. He surprisingly gives Jay Lethal his most memorable gimmick of all time in Black Machismo. Don't forget, Black Machismo was Nash's idea. Thankfully, Jay Lethal was a good competitor, and he made the gimmick work.
God. Anyway,
some faction that nobody cares about, and bye now.
Talking about Fortune, Immortal.
Oh no, I'm talking about Man Event Mafia.
Fortune 4. Relax.
Anywho, so Nash is out, and then here comes the real bad motherfucker of this match. It's Goldberg, and
actually, Triple H's pod was open first. He's like, I'm a badass. Bam, Michael super kicks him, and that's it for Hunter until the end of the match. Because remember, Hunter is injured, and he's working this match injured. Again, credit to him where it's due, but could they have not made it more obvious that he was hurt here? For crying out loud, he wasn't out there in his normal trunks. He was wearing bike shorts or something like that. It was a weird look for Triple H
to cover up the fact that he was injured in the groin area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, nothing else happens for a little bit, and then Goldberg comes out. And notice, and I'm not trying to rush this or sound like an asshole, but no, nothing really happens in this match until Goldberg comes out. There's no really memorable spots. There's no jumping off the pod. There's no cool double team moves. Nothing happened. It's like they were told just stall until Goldberg gets out there, which you got Jericho and Orton and Michaels. Come on.
More than capable workers. And then Goldberg just comes in and demolishes every single fucking one of them. There's a point where he spears Jericho through one of the glass pods on the outside. hits Orton with a jackhammer, pins him, spears Michaels, jackhammers him, pins Shawn Michaels like he's nothing, so see you later. Jericho, after he's speared through the pod, he gets back up, jackhammer. Then it's down to Goldberg and Triple H. As a kid, as a kid, this pissed me off so much because I was so into what Goldberg was doing, and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna fucking kick the shit out of Triple H here. This is gonna be awesome. Goldberg punches through the plexiglass because Triple H is being the coward inside the pod who doesn't want to get out, and they fight for a little bit. Goldberg is grinding his face in the chain like you usually do in these cage matches around the Ruthless Aggression era. Back in the ring, Goldberg goes for a spear. Triple H somehow has a sledgehammer in his hands. One shot to the head, and that's fucking it for Goldberg. That's fucking it. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it as a kid.
I still don't care just because, I don't know, I just don't care. But if your champion's injured, why don't you take the title off him?
Thank you. This crowd, like live watching the pay-per-view, when the 3 count happens, when Earl Hebner hits his hand for 3 for Triple H and crowns him still the World Heavyweight Champion, you can just see everybody so perplexed in the arena. They were like, what the fuck was that? Like, they just wasted our time. Literally, that's what they felt like.
Yeah, that was almost as bad as when the whole Austin Owen Hart thing happened and Austin still retained or won the title. It's like, if the person who's going to win is fucking hurt.
I feel like that was a different situation. I feel like that was the planned finish all along for Austin to beat Owen Hart there. And, like, that was just a freak accident. That wasn't a case of Austin.
Right.
That wasn't a
good.
that wasn't a case of Austin going into the match actually injured. That actually happened when Owen had it. That actually happened when Owen had hit the Tombstone Piledriver. Triple H walked into that Elimination Chamber exactly as I mentioned, a gimp with a championship belt. Like
a gimp with a limp.
A gimp with a limp and a belt. So there you go. So they're pissing me off.
To make everyone more mad, they beat up Goldberg after the match, and
they sure do. They sure do.
I give this match 2 stars. This was not fun.
No, in hindsight, yeah, I'm gonna pull a Chris Lash. I'm gonna pull a Chris Lash and give it a 2. So
finish aside, nothing happened in this match. Again, no memorable spots, no jumping off the pod. The pod crashing happened after Goldberg got in the match. Nash, Michaels, Jericho, and Orton did nothing in this match except be victim fodder for Goldberg.
That was Randy Orton's. That was Randy Orton's pay-per-view debut, ladies and gentlemen. Cannon fodder for Goldberg, and actually, they were playing it up. They were playing up Randy Orton's involvement in this match in a backstage promo earlier, and Orton was like, well, what if it gets to a point where Triple H gets pinned right here? And then Hunter's like, no. No, there's no what if, Randy. You're gonna basically lay down for me. And I don't know. I'm working on it. Working on it.
No of that happened whatsoever.
Nope. Nope, because Triple H was hurt. So
I'm not gonna let this affect my entire rating on this pay-per-view. I'm gonna stick with my guns, and this gets a 6.5 because there was a lot of boring stuff on this show, but that Fatal 4-Way and that WWE Championship match really helped it out. And the main event was a stinker, but again, not a good SummerSlam, I'm gonna say.
This was very, at best, this is like mid-tier on the SummerSlam ranking system.
Not as bad as 2010. It's not the worst SummerSlam of all time, but
no, nowhere near.
Nothing's worse than 2010.
I would rewatch this SummerSlam so many times over 2010, and honestly, oh man, I'm so sad that you brought up 2010. But it's I think I'll match your 6.5. If I'm being honest, it's probably I'm going to say 6.5. I would say the Royal Rumble and No Way Out were both better than this show, and that's what I rated both of those. So, And both of those shows had Triple H and Scott Steiner matches too. So,
Yeah.
so that really is telling. There wasn't a Triple H and Steiner match on this show, and both shows where those matches did occur were better than SummerSlam. So that
the Reign of Terror, ladies and gentlemen, is not over yet.
Nope. Oh, it won't be over for a while. Like we got a good maybe a year, maybe 2 years of the Reign of Terror left. But I hope Hunter gets better soon. I hope he gets better so he can come back into WWE and change things up again.
NXT?
Yeah.
NXT?
How about take back NXT and not pluck it away from him while he's in a hospital bed dealing with something serious. So
punch Bruce Pritchard in the face while we're at it, and
please,
put him in a retirement home.
I would love that. Get it? Wink, wink. But yeah, folks, if you guys are new, definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that thumbs up as well if you enjoyed these debates and discussions. A couple things you can look forward to from Tomas and I. We are getting into the Royal Rumble season. You guys have voted in that we talk about Royal Rumble 2000, which is headlined by a 5-star classic WWF Championship match. So excited to look back on that. And of course, you got Royal Rumble 2022. No big deal. AJ Styles is going to win the Royal Rumble. So, in any case, my friend, with that being said, let's all commence that back talk and stay tuned for the next one, guys.